Hello everybody, my name is Madam Zapple. I am a drag queen from the Boston area, and I'm here to show you a little makeup tutorial for new drag queens. I have 5 makeup tips for new drag performers. So again, my name is Madam Zapple. I am a performer. I live in Haverhill, Massachusetts. I actually live a little bit north of Boston. So you can find me pretty much all over the Boston area, primarily in the North Shore of Massachusetts. I am the queen of the North Shore. I have wanted to start a YouTube channel for a long time, and today I am starting my YouTube channel, honey, because I want to be famous on YouTube. Yeah, so I have been doing drag for 2 years or so, and I think I'm pretty decent at drag makeup. It's taken a lot of time. My makeup journey began in 2020, believe it or not. I was working as a COVID ICU nurse at the time. I'm still a nurse, but I love my job a lot more now. Anyway, I was working as a COVID ICU nurse. I was super depressed. I mean, I think a lot of us were super depressed. I was like drinking every night when I got home from work. I was like, I'm coming home from work. Life is so sad. I need a really strong rum and coke. So it was like a really depressing time. I really was just looking for an outlet for a lot of my trauma, and I was like, oh, drag. I had been thinking about dabbling in drag for probably a year before that, starting to go to some local shows. Watching RuPaul's Drag Race in college got the ball rolling and got me interested in drag. I grew up in rural Maine, and I didn't even know what a drag queen was literally until college. I really was scared of drag queens when I first saw one in real life. I was like, oh my god, this person is literally gonna eat me or sit on my face. Both happened and I'm fine. So I slowly became more interested in drag after seeing RuPaul's Drag Race. I thought, wow, I could do a lot of that. I was always interested in like fashion and makeup and hair growing up, and I just said, wow, this is literally an art form that has all of those bundled into one for my little gay heart. So in 2020, I was really sad working in hospitals during COVID, and I just needed an outlet for all of my emotions. And I went to CVS with my husband. I spent $100 at CVS on a bunch of drugstore makeup, and the result was crazy. But at the time, I felt so gorgeous, and I think that's the beautiful part of drag. It's such a journey of self-exploration to see the growth almost every year getting so much better. It's been a really fun journey, and I'm excited to share this part of my journey with you. So thanks for watching my YouTube video. So today, the video that I'm creating for you all is not just for queens. I mean, this is totally queen inspired makeup, but all of these tips are great for really anyone who's trying to do any sort of drag makeup or full coverage like cosplay makeup. My tips are really kind of about not necessarily shapes and colors and things like that, and you know, where to put makeup on your face, more so about prepping your skin, how to blend, and things that will really impact any kind of makeup that you're doing. Things that I found so impactful and the biggest things that helped me when I was learning how to do makeup. So 5 tips for baby queens and drag performers. So the first step to me doing drag, because I do have thick Italian eyebrows, is to glue my brows down. I am a sweaty girl, so I use Prozade cream to glue my brows down. This is a medical adhesive, so you do need a medical adhesive remover to take this off. So don't use this unless you have a medical adhesive remover, or else your eyebrow hairs will fall out. I will probably do a video in the future how to glue down my brows. I could do a whole video on that. The important thing is that you have the tools that you need. So if you're using a glue stick, you really only need like water, hot water, soap and water to get that off. If you're using Prozade, because you're a sweaty girl like me, you need to have a medical adhesive remover. So I'm gonna glue my brows down, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, so we are back. The brows are glued down. I glue my brows down different than the average performer. I do use the Prozade like I said before. I also don't powder my brows after. I know that probably sounds crazy, but I find that when I powder my brows after Prozade, it kind of makes like a residue on the edge where the edge of the powder, and it also just makes my brows a little cakier. So I really make sure they're completely dry. And then one thing that I actually do that I find helpful with Prozade, I've been testing for a long time with order mixing a glue stick and Prozade to see if I could get it a little smoother. What I found is Prozade on top of glue was falling off. The sweat from under my brows was penetrating the base layer of glue, and then it was just making it all weird. So what I do is I do 2 layers of Prozade on my brows, get that super flat, and then I take a glue stick, I give it a little lick, and then I use that to flatten the Prosade down. What I found is that it doesn't break through the top layer of the Prosade. It really just glides right over, but you can press the Prosade down a little bit more with something that's not going to break through the barrier. So the glue stick is nice because you can use it to press the Prosade down and it slicks right over and it doesn't penetrate the top layer. No penetration of my brows, please. So one thing I like to do when getting into drag is light a candle. I lived in Salem for a little while. Imagine me going like this to my little Virgo candle. You can't see it, it's okay. This is a Virgo candle. I am a Virgo. I was born September 16th. Virgos are the best. Everyone else said it, not me. So I like to just light a candle, have a little intention of having a nice day. I'm doing a private show today. I'm doing a private gig. It's a bachelorette party, and I just want to have a nice bachelorette party. A 1-hour private gig, literally 10 minutes down the street from me, which is fierce. I love when a show is close by because I live 45 minutes from Boston, so anytime I'm going to Boston, it's like, gotta leave pretty early. So anytime I can perform right in my home city, love that for me. Love that also for the people in my city. So we're back with 5 tips for new drag performers. So we glued down our eyebrows, and tip number 1 is never skip skin prep. Never skip your skin prep. It's fundamental for the makeup process. Finding a moisturizer and a primer that's right for you is so important. So I already got out of the shower this morning. I shaved my face. I got a fresh shave. And then I put a little bit of moisture on. Nothing crazy, just like a light moisturizer. It's so important just to find the right primer for your skin. So everyone has a different skin type. I have a very sensitive skin. It's also quite dry, especially this time of year, getting into the winter. I do use a retinol, and sometimes when I have products on, my skin is like super hydrated, but then if I don't put anything on my face, just kind of at baseline because of the strength of the retinol, my skin is pretty dry and sometimes even gets flaky. I mean, it's worth it for having nice skin, which right now is, my skin is crazy. I'm like fighting with so much texture right now. But that's okay, because you know what? Texture and having a breakout at 28 years old is realness, honey. That's why we use full coverage foundation. You can really cover anything up with drag makeup. Realness, girl, realness. So what I started to use recently is the One Size primer, Secure the Blur, really nice primer. I've also been using Secure the Sweat primer. Okay, one thing you're gonna learn about me, Madam Zapple, is that I'm a sweaty girly. So I've been working for the last 2 years to figure out how to save my makeup through sweat and through like long ass shows. I've learned how to save my makeup through like 10-hour days. It doesn't look as good as it does in the morning, of course, but it lasts, and from 6 feet away, from a stage distance or a performing distance, it looks pretty good. So I like to use a little bit of this. This is the Secure the Sweat primer from One Size. So it comes in this little pink tube. I like to put this on my mustache area because I do get pretty sweaty right here. That's a lot of the time. Here, and then on top of my brows, right above them. Those are the 2 places where my makeup will start to crack first. So I like to prime those with a sweat blocking primer or a sweat absorbing primer. Does she absorb or does she block? She secures. She secures the sweat. Yes, Secure the Sweat primer, great. You do have to let it soak in. Then I'm gonna take my Secure the Blur, and I start with the eyes up. That's where I do my makeup first. All right, so never skip your skin prep. So I use the Secure the Sweat primer, and then what I do actually before the Secure the Dawn. Wow, I'm a Patrick Star plug right now. Patrick Star's prep products are so nice. This is the Until Dawn setting spray. Beyonce famously used this in her concert where it was raining and her makeup stayed the whole time. So thank you, Beyonce, and thank you, Patrick Star. So I actually put a little spray of this on my face before I put my primer on, and I feel like it just really helps like mattify any of the sweat problems. So I just give a little yeah, girl, don't breathe that in. It singe your hairs out of your nose. So we got that on. Now we're gonna go on with the One Size Secure the Blur primer. I do start with my top of my face when doing my drag makeup. So I'm gonna put a little tape here. Oh, I actually forgot to glue down my sideburns. My hair is very long right now. I typically don't do this step, but I do need to glue down the burns. I do just use regular glue for this, and that typically holds up fine. So this just makes it easier to glue down my wig later. Ooh, looks crazy, girl. Drag is funny. Drag is silly. So that's gonna dry. All right, so I just put a little glue on my sideburns because my sideburns might pop because they're so thick right now. I'm giving thick sideburns, honey. So I just glued those down. So what I'm gonna do is put some primer on my forehead. So again, I use the Secure the Blur. I usually just go in just a little squiggle. Just a little squiggle on the forehead. And then I just massage that in, do the whole forehead. And then I'll take a little bit more on the back of my hand and I will put her right under the brows, blending on the eyelids and on top of those brows just to fill in any cracks. So this primer is nice. I've been using so many different primers in the last 2 years. I started by using a lot of really matte primers and then I found my skin just needs more hydration when doing makeup, especially when using full coverage. A lot of them, it's pretty nice to have a little bit of moisture, especially if you're using like a Kryolan TV paint stick, which I do use for some parts of a makeup process. Kryolan TV paint sticks really do need, and probably like the Mayron sticks, I haven't used those, but I'm assuming they're a similar formula, really do need like a good moist base to stick onto. So I was using the e.l.f. Hydro Grip Primer for a long time, and that is pretty nice too. But then I decided to splurge and get the one size primer. I just really like how, like the consistency that it gives my makeup, the texture, it just is really nice at like smoothing things out. The Hydro Grip Primer though is great. It's like $10 for a tube and it lasts a long time. So that's great for beginners if you're kind of on a budget, which who isn't on a budget? I saved up my tips and I was like, I'm gonna get this, and I do love it. So these are pretty much dry. That's great. I have my primer on. Yes, and that was tip number 1, never skip skin prep. So we glued everything down. We sprayed our skin with some setting spray, put some moisturizer on after I shaved, and then we just put a couple different primers on. That's tip number 1. Never skip that skin prep, honey, because you cannot have dry looking crazy skin that's fallen off. No one wants that. Tip number 2 for baby queens is to invest in decent tools for applying your makeup. I can't stress this enough. I really feel like having proper tools when doing your makeup is maybe more important than having good product. Recently, within the last year or so, invested in a nice brush set. Literally nothing crazy, just like Morphe brush set, 8-piece eye set. And that really helped my blending of my eyes. You know, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using cheap makeup tools forever. I know in the beginning, if you find like an Amazon brush set for like $12 and it has like 20 brushes, that's totally fine. But once you can get a little bit better of brush sets, it's definitely worth the investment just to have a little bit better quality brushes and tools, because it will really help with like the texture and the application of your makeup, which is foundational to how the end result looks. So not only brushes, but also sponges. I think everyone has different skin textures, so it's really important to find a sponge that works for your face. Also, depending on the products that you're using, if you use a wet sponge or a dry sponge. The products I use, like a wet sponge, I think it's just trial and error. You can try both and figure out with the products that you're using what is the most helpful, what works best. I think this is a Real Techniques beauty blender. I've used this beauty blender for like probably a year now, and I do wash it sometimes. It's fully stained all over. It probably has bacteria growing in it, but it's a great beauty blender, and you'll see why. So probably should get a new one of these. I'm gonna figure out where to find them. Maybe I'll link it below. I love this beauty blender. So step 1 for Madam Zapple after prepping the skin is going in with some white and letting that dry down. So I use the Kimchi the Most concealer. Kimchi's concealer. Can you see that? No, you can't. No, you cannot. Kimchi's concealer is great. A lot of queens use this. I just put the white right in the center of my face. I use this white like many steps in the makeup process. The important thing that I've found with concealers is letting them dry down before blending. If you find any like patchiness, eye patch especially right here in the center of my face when I'm blending, I found that letting the concealer dry down is super important. That really helps me prevent any patching or flaking. Also, something I learned as a baby queen is if you ever have a little makeup residue on from the night before, or you are taking makeup off before bed and then putting drag on in the morning, whatever you do, if you're using any makeup remover and then putting on makeup later in the day, a couple hours later, or even right after, you really want to make sure to wash off the makeup reducer residue. So if you makeup wipe your face to put something else on, let's say even like you messed up your eyeshadow, you're gonna wipe it off and apply new eye makeup, make sure that you wash off that residue of the makeup remover, or else that will be on your skin and that's gonna be on the base when you put new makeup on, and that's just gonna gonna make everything fall off. I have been there freaking out. Why is my makeup falling off? Yeah, it was because I just used a makeup wipe and makeup remover was on my skin. That's the opposite of skin prep. So good tools. I love these brushes from Morphe X Ariel. This is like my favorite concealer brush. If I only had one brush, maybe if I had 3 brushes, this would be one of the 3. For the rest of my forehead and for a lot of my face, I actually use the Dermablend Leg and Body Makeup. It is so full coverage, also inexpensive. I think this humongous bottle was, I don't know, $25 or something, and it just lasts forever. So I just put some on there. That was probably way too much. And then I'm just going to kind of blend that around the forehead. Blend, blend, blend. And you can see it completely covers my brows. It is so full coverage. It's meant for legs and body, so there's so much in the tube. It's crazy. Just blend that right into the white, and then we will buff out the white momentarily. So there's that. I did use a lot of foundation, admittedly. That was a lot. Yeah, sometimes less is more with products. I need a sip of coffee. I am a nurse, so I have a coffee obsession, girl. It's bad. Sometimes I drink like 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day. And sometimes they're not even cups. Sometimes they're whole coffees. It's an expensive and probably unhealthy habit. Me realizing how much coffee I drink and being like, I let that sit for a second. I also forgot to put my tape on. I do like to put a little tape for my wang, honey. I like to tape right here for my wing. Make sure that's even. This just prevents too much makeup from going down below where my wing is, and it also makes the line of under my wing just like super crisp so that I can put concealer on underneath. So that's been sitting for a minute on my forehead, so I'm gonna blend this out. Whenever you're blending your light products out, you want to start from the edge or the outside edge and then blend in. So if I start blending from the middle and blend out, it's going to drag this white like all over my face, and I really want it to stay concentrated right where it is. So whenever you're blending a product that if you're trying to keep this white concentrated, you don't want to drag it out. You really want to keep it right where it is. A big thing with blending is you just want to keep the product where it is a lot of the time. Blending doesn't mean pulling it all over your face. So what I do is I just blend out this edge right here. So I always start right on the edge and just go around the edge, being careful not to pull that all over your face. I do use the white like as a base under my eyes, so you can see I just blended that, keeping it concentrated right in the center of the face there. Good. And then I do use that as the base under my eyes, so I do just blend that down. That goes all over my eyelid because it's a nice base for my eyeshadow. Perfect. So once that is blended out, I let that sit there, and I'm gonna move on to my brows. So I do need a new brow product. I do use the e.l.f. medium brown lock-on liner and brow cream. It's pretty good. I think it's just a dupe for the Anastasia brow cream or brow pomade. I definitely do want to try to invest in the Anastasia brow cream. The Anastasia brow products are fierce, so I'm gonna splurge on that because brows are a big part of the face. So I like to always start my brows really where the start of my boy brow is. So right at the base of my regular brow, and then I go up almost to the top of my brow. I'll show you what I mean. I like to start at the bottom base of my regular brow, and then I swoop up and go out. The same thing on the other side. You don't want to use too much product for this part because you can always add more product. It's hard to take away product on top of this foundation, so I like to just start with a light amount and then I can add more for dimension. So I started with the bottom line, and then I'm gonna do the top line. I don't always like to start in the middle. I like to start, or in the center of my face, I like to start almost in the middle of the brow because I can have more control over how much product is being distributed. One thing about my brows is that they will always be sisters. Girl, they will never be twins, and that's okay. I've accepted that. No one cares. And then I just fill those in, starting from the edges all the way out here, and then slowly bringing the product in. Just kind of blend everything. And whenever painting on top of the brow glue, you just want to be really gentle. You don't want to do any like back and forth motions. You just want to use like soft brushes. So I just use like an eyeliner, like wing brush. This is actually the one from Trixie Cosmetics. It is the Hotline brush. It's pretty soft. You just have to clean it, or else it does get really hard if there's any dry product on it. That's a good start. And then I actually use another product just to fill that in more later, but this is just kind of the base. This is just the base to the brows. I'm gonna clean them up now. The brows are on. I'm now gonna take some of that white and just clean up the bottom of the brows using that, and that will really help carve them out. Just take a small amount of the white concealer on your brush, my concealer brush, and we're just carving out like that. This is a great step to help even out the shape of your brows. So if one brow is a little lower than the other, you can always put a little more product to make it even with the other, and then take the white up a little bit to make the bottoms even. It's a great step to just even out. And then when that's done, I'm gonna take a little bit more product once it's even, and I'm just gonna put that like right on top of where my brows are covered and kind of let that sit for a second. So I just add a glob underneath where my brows are for extra coverage, and I just kind of let that dry before blending, just to give it a little more magic, honey. So I'm gonna take my beauty blender and I'm just going to dab on like the edge of the brow here, just to help soften and kind of make like an ombre effect with the brow. I don't even know if you can see that okay. I just kind of have the center points of my brows like right on the inside, just with a little bit of like residue of the white. There's a little bit of white on the end of this. I just tap, 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 and that helps create, it's the start of an ombre brow. So this concealer has been drying for a minute, so I'm going to take my beauty blender and just blend that out under my eye. So now we have a good base to start our eye look. Sometimes I use an actual liner to do a wing. Sometimes I just use powder if I'm a little bit looking for a little bit quicker of a makeup. I am a little bit pressed for time because I woke up a little late this morning, so I do this a lot. If I'm doing a photo shoot or a gig where I'm trying to look my absolute best, I typically use a liner because it's just a little sharper. Of course, I do use my liner pen to clean things up and make things look precise, but sometimes I just take my fat Trixie Cosmetics brush and I just use my black eyeshadow to just make a wing. This is Makeup by Mario. I believe this is called the Master Mattes. Yes, this is the Master Mattes Neutrals, and this is the cool tone palette. I have the warm tone palette. I use like a platinum blonde hair or like icy blonde hair. I do really like a cool tone eye, so I love this palette. Makeup by Mario. Thank you, babe. Worth the investment. Had her for a long time. Okay, so I'm gonna take the black shade and I'm just gonna start to kind of press a wing. This is gonna be like more long skinny wing versus a like thicker wing. You know, depending on how my tape is placed, the wing does change a little bit in thickness and in length, depending on how I tape, LOL. So I just really like to stamp that in there. Rule of thumb for me is I don't like to have my wing go too far past my brow, so you can see I just stamp that on, and I don't really want it to go too far past the edge of my brow. So that's what I do for the start of my wing. Nothing crazy. We're gonna keep moving. Big part of the eye makeup process is the tools. So again, having a nice eyeshadow brush. You don't want to skimp out on good products or good tools. So having just like a classic but good quality eyeshadow eye makeup brush set is really helpful. Today I'm wearing a big pink outfit, so I'm really just trying to do like a nude eye. So I use the black, and then I'm gonna use 2 different shades of like a cool tone brown. Everyone does their makeup a little bit differently. I tend to do my lighter shades first, so I kind of buff out the larger parts of the eyeshadow or the whole shape first, and then I add dimension with the darker shadow. So again, I'm taking my brush. This is kind of a smaller fluffy brush, and I'm going to use this to make the shape of the eyeshadow. And I did not powder down this white yet. I like to have a wet base for my eyeshadow because it makes everything a little more pigmented. I'm just really mapping out the general shape of my eye, going pretty much in the center all the way up to the brow. Like my eyeshadow and my brow do touch right there, and then I just do a straight line over to touch that wing. A big tip with blending eyeshadow is, especially when you're using a wet base, you don't want to drag back and forth. You want to tap. Tapping will blend. When you have a wet base that you're putting eyeshadow on, you want to tap, tap, tap. It's gonna do better blending than this. This is gonna drag things around, make everything smudgy, and it will pick up your blue on your brow. So just tapping is very sufficient. And this is just like a quick drag brow. I'm definitely gonna make a eye makeup tutorial for drag pretty soon. I think that would be a good video for a beginner. And I really wanted to make videos for beginner performers because I feel like when I first started drag, there weren't a ton of in-depth makeup tutorials for like baby queens. I just really wanted to help out the newbies because I was there not long ago at all, and the more videos, the better. So that's pretty good for this first shade. Sometimes I do use 3 shades, but we're doing a quicker eye today for this tutorial because I want to get you guys in drag. So we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna take the darker shade. It's just a couple shades darker, and I'm just gonna go really on the inside of that eyeshadow, closer to my eye. Just adding some depth to the eyeshadow that is closer to my eye. So that's gonna give it that like really blended look without a lot of work. And again, I'm just tapping. And that's pretty much what I do for the shadow in this eye. I'm gonna do the same thing to the next side, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. I did the eyeshadow look on both eyes, just some good blending. I set under the eyes with a white powder, a white eyeshadow powder, just like this. Just set that white there, and then you can take your brush you use for your eyeshadow and just blend the top there, and that will give it that kind of seamless, buffed out. The next thing we're gonna do is we're going to cut our crease. We are taking our trusty concealer brush, already has some white on it, and we are just going to cut our crease shape. Super fast, super easy. I just do a shape like that. So after I get the shape, I'm gonna add definition with more white, and then I'm gonna fill in all down below that. Just like that. And it really looks almost like a bird wing or an angel wing. I take a lot of makeup inspiration from great makeup artists and people who have like pretty bold makeup. One of the local performers in Boston who I think has just the best makeup, one of the best drag faces on the planet, is Camille Yen. Sometimes I just look at Camille Yen's makeup and I just relish in her beauty. And when I get to work with her, I'm always, sometimes she paints at the gig. I'll be looking over my shoulder. What's Camille doing? What products is she using? She's actually very kind and open about advice. Camille will not give you advice unless you ask. If you ask, she has a list of things she wants to tell you, which I think is hilarious. I love that about her. Yeah, so there's my wing. I also love Ellis Atlantis. Ellis Atlantis is a fabulous makeup artist, and she has some great products. I've actually never tried any of them, but they look nice, and a lot of drag people like them. So same thing here with that white. We're gonna set that with a powder because tip number 3 for baby drag queens is using cream and powder products. Whether you are using creams on your face or in your eyes, you want to set those creams with powders. And you can also use powders to add dimension to your creams after setting with like a baking powder or a loose powder. So I just put cream on my eye. So I'm going to take this white eyeshadow and I'm going to just set that. And that's going to prevent it from smudging. It's going to give it more pigment. And it's really just going to lock it in place. And that just helps with the longevity of the makeup. We're gonna set this with the white. There we go. So that is set. So step 3 is use creams and powder products. Really important, babies. This is a quick eye, so I'm gonna take this brush with a lot of black eyeshadow residue on it, and I am just going to buff out that edge right there. Kind of smoke, just like that. We're just smoking that out. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. The eyes are done, honey. So we're gonna move on to the bottom half of our face. We are gonna take this tape. I have sensitive skin, so ooh, that kind of hurts. And that's what we're left with. Looking puss. My goodness. Crazy girl. All right, so that's our eye. We are now going to prep the bottom half of our face. Same thing. Same thing, girl. We gotta put this primer all over. We are just doing some squiggly digglies. I have a friend who used to tweeze my brows in high school, and she would always say, no squiggly digglies. I should have listened to her because my brows are crazy. It's really important to slap yourself when applying skin prep. That's what all the girlies do. They slap yourself. I'm gonna take my earrings off. These are earrings that my husband bought me. Yes, I'm a kept woman. He set up this recording space for me. Love him. He does all my tech. Love that about him. All right, so the skin is prep prime. I'm going to color correct because color correcting is really important. You can see a lot of blue, green, mostly blue, where my beard is. So we are going to cover that in orange to just take the blue out of that. It hits the blue and neutralizes it. So then when you put makeup on top, it's going to really conceal all of that blue, so you're not going to be giving beard under your makeup unless that's what you're into. That's cool. I really try to conceal that because my drag is really about the illusion and the female impersonation. So I'm just taking this orange and I'm painting it over everywhere on my face that is blue, and I do a tiny little dot under my eyes because I have a really blue vein under my eyes. So I let that sit for a second, and then I have a brush. Admittedly, this is probably the cheapest brush I have. I could probably benefit from step number 2, invest in better tools with this brush. Some people do use their fingers for this part. I've always used a brush because I don't want to get orange all over my fingers. So this is an easy part. We're just blending out this color corrector. So just to talk a little bit about myself, I grew up in rural Maine. I grew up like on the coast of Maine, but a little bit in from the coast. Really small town. My town had when I was growing up 700 people, and it's, I don't know, 40 square miles or something. So my neighbors were my family. It was giving Amish vibes. No, I'm just kidding. But I actually did grow up on a dairy farm, which is crazy. I grew up on a dairy farm in Maine. Not a lot of exposure, actually no exposure to queer people until I moved to Massachusetts for college. That was when I first explored like queer culture. And I am gonna use my finger just here, just to keep that really right there. Thankfully, I had a mom who loved America's Next Top Model. So the good thing was I did get to see some fashion and like a couple queer people on America's Next Top Model, even though that show was so problematic. Tyra Banks, you crazy girl, whatever. Watched a lot of America's Next Top Model with my mom. Positive was that I got to see some queer culture. The negative was body dysmorphia. So thank you, America, for giving me body dysmorphia. I love myself now, but it took a long time. Oh, I'm sure many of you can relate, or not. Good for you. So we're color corrected. What I'm gonna do next is put some concealer under my eyes. I just start with the white because I like to have my white concealer sitting for a while before blending out for that coverage. I like to start my base makeup under my eyes with this concealer. So I'm gonna put it right here. I don't like to put it right up to my eye because we're gonna have some room to blend it up and I don't want it to be too crazy and too much product sitting right under my eyes because then it's just a lot. I just put this right here and I am going to take the remnants of my Beauty Blender like foundation that's been sitting on there for way too long. Blend some makeup on my nose. The next step is where my color correction is. I like to take a skin toned Krylon TV paint stick, so I like to use the shade Ivory. It's really not the right undertones for my face, but I'm gonna cover it with a lot of other product. Really terrible excuse for not finding the right shade. This is just like the first skin shade TV paint stick that I bought for myself that was the closest to my skin, so I'm just using this until it's empty. It works fine. So I like to use this in the center of my face over that color correction because that just, one, it really helps conceal the beard and the mustache. Two, it actually helps with texture. I think because it's a really creamy, thick, like almost, but that just really helps conceal everything and it does have kind of a smoothing effect. So what I'm gonna do next is take my Beauty Blender and I'm just gonna blend this out. This is a step where I find that having a wet Beauty Blender a damp is crucial because the dry Beauty Blender doesn't blend TV paint sticks out as well. And that's my experience with my skin. Sound off in the comments if you use a dry Beauty Blender. Couldn't be me. And to moisten my Beauty Blender, I put it under the sink, squeeze it a few times, get it nice and moist. Same with my big Beauty Blender. And then I just wring it out, squeeze it into with a paper towel on top of it, and that usually gives me a good moisture level. And I'm just blending down the neck a little bit. There you go. No more beard. No mas beard. So the next step is we're gonna take some more of this Leg and Body foundation from Dermablend, and we're just gonna put a few dots here, a few dots here, and I like to put this on top of this cream foundation because it fills in any of the pores. I think it just like really smooths it out. It just gives a good finish on top. So we're gonna blend this in. Blend. Some things about me, some things about Madam Zapple. Like I said, I grew up on a farm in Maine, crazy. But because of that, I'm actually really grateful for that upbringing. I became really close with my family. Growing up, I was like super tight with my cousins. We all live right next door to each other. So I grew up with like just a lot of playing with my cousins. It's like playing with the neighborhood kids, except you can beat the shit out of each other. And you gotta go to family dinner the same day. I grew up having a lemonade stand at my grandma's house, the farm, just like selling iced tea and lemonade. My cousins. It was pretty fun. Playing outside a lot. Just always outside, honey, in the Maine woods. So we blend out the bottom of the face, and this takes me to tip number 4 is blend, bitch. When you're blending your makeup, girl, keep blending. Keep blending. I find so many new performers just don't know how to blend their makeup. If you think you blended enough, you keep blending, girl. Just blend some more, and blend some more. We're gonna take the white part of this, or the lighter part of this Beauty Blender, and we are going to blend like we did on top, the edges here first. So we are gonna start with blending out the edge, and this is just going to prevent the edge from pulling down all over your face. So we're just blending this edge, and that's gonna make like a seamless transition from the white to the cream. I remember seeing a video of Plastique Tiara, which her makeup is incredible. I saw a video of her like doing her makeup, and she explained this step of blending out the edge of the makeup first and then going in, and that really, it's like such a simple tip, and it really helped my makeup game improve so much. Then we're gonna go up slowly. So we started from the bottom of that white, and now we're blending up into the center, being careful not to touch the eye makeup, and we're gonna clean that up with a brush. So we're starting from the bottom. Now we hear getting Drake, We Hate You. So we have that. I'm gonna add a little bit more white to the top here just for some dimension. And then I'm gonna put some white on my nose. Blend, bitch. If you think you've blended enough, I'm telling you, you gotta keep blending. There is so much blending in drag makeup, and I find that that's a skill that you'll learn over time. But from the beginning, I found that the more time you spend blending, the more seamless your makeup is gonna look. So now we're gonna take that concealer brush with the white, and we're just gonna clean up under the eyes. We're gonna really carefully go right under that line that we created with the tape, and we're just gonna really slowly put our concealer there. And then once that's there, we can blend it out with our brush and then our beauty blender. But this is just giving us that crisp, so that's good. So now we're gonna blend that with our beauty blender. Some things that I wanna do with YouTube on this journey, I have a lot of different interests in drag, out of drag. I love music. I love disco music. I wanna learn how to DJ, so I think maybe doing some videos on learning how to DJ would be fun. I love styling wigs, maybe some wig styling videos, different types of makeup. I love cooking, so maybe you'll see some cooking videos in the future with Madam Zapple. I love horror movies, so maybe we'll watch some horror movies together. You never know. I have a lot of ideas for YouTube. So excited to be starting this journey with you because I literally watch YouTube like all day. I have ADHD, so YouTube is like what I do when I'm doing anything. Cleaning the house, folding laundry, whatever I'm doing, I'm usually watching YouTube, which is probably unhealthy, but you know, it's better than some other things I could be doing. All right, so that's blended out. Now I'm gonna take my contour, which I do use a Krylon. I use D35-1 Krylon paint stick, and I'm gonna paint the darks of my face. I like to contour my forehead up here to make it look smaller. Sisters, not twins, honey. And then I put a little here, a little there, a little under my jawline to really make my face look smaller. And then while that's sitting there, I'm gonna actually go in and do my nose. So I use a small beauty blender. Blend, bitch. I use a really small beauty blender for my nose. I just dip it, dip the tip in the contour, and then I'm just going to go right down my nose and just whittle my nose into a tiny little thing. Nothing crazy. And then I'm gonna take some of the white and just highlight my nose, the center of my nose there. Sometimes for smaller areas of the face or little details, your fingers are a great tool because they're warm, so they're really good at blending. Blend, bitch. Looks pretty good. And when doing my nose, you gotta look from a couple different angles to make sure it looks okay. It does look pretty good. I'm going to take my eyeshadow brush and just use the shadow that's on my brush to blend into the tip of the top of the nose there, just so it looks a little more seamless and it doesn't look like it's too much of the contour. It's more so the eyeshadow there. What I do for my nose, nothing crazy. And then I'm gonna take my huge beauty blender. This is what I use to blend out my contour. When blending your contour, you really wanna keep it to the spot that it's in. You don't wanna drag it all around. You wanna keep it in one spot. So that's a huge thing that I have found. So you really just wanna tap where it is. It will naturally, especially if you're using a bigger sponge like this, bigger beauty blender, it will naturally blend out where you want it to go. But you wanna keep it concentrated to the one spot and just diffuse it almost right there. I mean, you're gonna move it a tiny bit, but you just don't wanna do too much. You wanna keep it really like right where it is, and that's going to give you that blend that you're looking for. So I'm just doing kind of the whole top of the forehead there. Bam. And then if you wanna blend that even more, you can take the part of your sponge that has the foundation side, do a little there, and then you can add a little more touch of the white in the center with the other side of your beauty blender. That's the forehead done. And then we're gonna move into the cheeks. Again, I could close my eyes. I'm not even moving it. I'm just touching it right there, and it will go where it needs to go. Everyone's face is different too, so you will learn what looks best on your face over time. It just depends on, your cheekbones, your jaw, your nose. All of our faces have different anatomy. But you'll play with different shapes, different heights and levels of blending where you put your highs and lows. Okay, so that looks blended. It looks a little bit crazy, so I am gonna take my beauty blender again, and I'm gonna blend this line here between the white and the dark, a little transitional. Blend those two lines together, and that's gonna create almost a third shade between the light and the dark. And it's gonna make it look a little more seamless, and I'm gonna flip it over, use my foundation side to blend that line right here. Not too much. And the nice thing about using a cream before a powder, because that's one of our tips, is using a cream before a powder. When we're using the cream, it's really forgiving, because if we need to add a little bit more product, we can add more product. Like I'll take some more of this right here. I can add a little depth right in the pocket there, and then I'll take my beauty blender and just stamp that right there, and that's gonna add a little depth to the pocket of my cheek there. And then I'm just gonna blend that nose right there too. Girl, you can never blend enough. I'm telling you, you can never blend too much. You can never blend too much. So now I'm just blending under my jaw, bringing it up a tiny bit onto the chin and upper jaw jaw, I guess. You don't want to keep it just on your neck. For me personally, I'm trying to shrink my face a little bit. Ginger Minge, she's an example of maybe a little too much chin contour. Shade. Love Ginger. Congrats on your win. Okay, so I blended that. I don't know how much you can see, but there's still kind of a harsh line right here on the top. So I'm just gonna take the foundation part, the neutral foundation shade, and we're just gonna blend that top line there, and that's just gonna make it more seamless. Still gives a shadow without the harsh lines. Love Trixie Mattel. Trixie Mattel is my drag mother. She doesn't know she's my drag mother. One day she will. Betting money on it. One day I'll be on Trixie Mattel's YouTube channel, manifesting that. But we don't want the super harsh lines like Trixie. We are going to take this Trixie cream blush, and we're gonna make Neapolitan ice cream. We're gonna put the pink right in between the dark and the light of the face. Literally just putting pink right in the middle there. You can see that. And then I'm gonna take this brush. I like to use this this is another Morphe M242 cream and liquid bronzer. I like to use this for my blush. Again, we're blending this out. We're keeping it pretty much right where it is, just buffing it. And I like to put my blush more on the high points of my cheek. Some people will bring it down a little bit into here. I do a kind of a mix of both, but primarily I like to keep it kind of up here on the higher parts of my cheek. I just find that that's a little more flattering for my face. I have less of a round face and more of a long face, so I kind of like to accentuate. I like to snatch my face out a little bit. I feel like it just looks a little better. So that's blush is on. That's the cream. And tip number 3 was cream and powder makeup. So whenever we have a cream, we're gonna powder over it. So before we put some setting powder on this, we're going to buff out any creasing that we have under our eyes. So I do have a couple eye wrinkles because I'm 20 years old, and I'm gonna be getting Botox and filler very soon, honey. But I just like to kind of blend those lines. Same thing on my forehead. Girl, it's only a matter of days. It's only a matter of days before I start getting injectables into my face. I am a nurse. I'm gonna buy some Korean injectables and just learn how to do it myself, because I don't want to be paying all this fucking money. I'm gonna learn how to do injectables on myself. Is that illegal? I would never do that, actually. I would never risk my nursing license for beauty. So we're gonna use a loose setting powder. Girl, Kimchi loose setting powder is that girl. Kimchi, so I buy the big one. This thing lasts me 6 months or more, or just one Pride season. But I like to use the pink and the white powder that she has. I mix them together to make pink and white, and that's what I use to set the high points of my face or the lighter shades of my face. So I will use this pink and white to set under my eyes. I like the pink because it also has a way of neutralizing my under eyes without being too severe. Like sometimes the white concealer under my face plus white powder can just be a little too stark, especially like I'm going out to do day drag right now. I'm literally going to a bachelorette party. It's gonna be in the daylight, and sometimes the white in the daylight is not the most flattering. It's nice in a club at night, but so I'm just taking this powder over my cream. I'm putting this on the lighter parts of my face. It keeps the brightness of the white, maintains that brightness without making it too stark of a white. And this is probably like a 50-50 blend of the pink and the white powder. And kimchi powder is so good. Yep, just like that. So on all those high points. I recently lost some weight, which like who cares, honestly. Bodies are bodies. We're all beautiful. But I did lose like 30 pounds recently. Eating a lot of protein and injecting chemicals under my skin. And my face shape has changed. So it's been really interesting to kind of adapt my makeup to almost like a new face. Imagine getting plastic surgery and then adapting your makeup to that. Oh my gosh. My goal in life is to be like Amanda Lepore when I'm like 60 years old. So I have to figure out a way to quit being a nurse and just be a full-time cross-dresser. So I'm just using now this translucent. This is the big one. This is the 01 Puff Puff Pass 01 translucent, and I'm just slapping that all over the rest of my face. Part of the blending, I feel, is this step as well. I mean, it doesn't really feel like blending, but really gotta slam the powder into there. It really helps with the texture. Because again, my skin right now is really textured. Blend, 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 blend. Slap, slap, slap. Okay, that's enough. That's enough out of you, Madam Zapple. Quit being crazy. So, I like to let this bake for a minute, okay? So we're looking pretty delicious. But what's even more delicious is my coffee. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna hold my candle here. Virgo power, drink my coffee. Virgo power, drink my coffee. Virgo power. Oh. drink my coffee. My husband's really into astrology, so kind of by proxy, I've learned so much about astrology. I'm a Virgo sun, so your sun sign is kind of the sign that everyone knows. So I'm a Virgo sun. I'm a Libra rising. A rising sign in, you know, layman's terms is really how you're perceived maybe when people meet you. I don't know. That's my understanding. Your rising sign is where the horizon was, or the sun was on the horizon when you were born. I don't know, girl. I'm not going to pretend to know. But I'm a Libra rising and I'm a Pisces moon. Your moon is kind of your more emotional side, your internal, just like your internal self. So I'm a Pisces moon. I'm very emotional. Girl, I'm a very sensitive person. Don't fuck with me because the nurse in me, I have thick ass skin. But if you say something too cutting, girl, I might cry. But don't fuck with me or I'll cry. All right, so the powder's been sitting for a couple minutes. We're gonna do a little dust. We're gonna dust it off nice and gently. Wow, this pimple on my face is huge. I don't know if you can even see it. Probably not on the camera. That's perfect. Ooh. Ooh. All right, so we're dusted. We are dusted, honey. So now we are gonna take our powder. This is back to step 3, using creams and powders. We are now going to take our contour palette and we're gonna powder contour our face. Lunar Beauty contour palette. She is that girl. This palette is everything. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Look at that light. Ooh, ooh, look, I can even, bam, bam. All right, silly girl. I used to use a bigger brush for contour. I use this little M164 powder brush from Morphe. It's like so dainty, and I'm just taking this shade. I feel like I got like really soft ASMR in my contour, and I'm just highlighting or adding on top of those shades that I already created. So we're just adding depth back to our face because the setting powder is so important. Like, you need to use setting powder on top of your foundation and your creams, but it does take a lot of the pigment away from your makeup. So now we're going to just add that color, almost a lot of that pigment back. We're gonna add some dimension back to the face. So I'm really just taking like a bronzy shade. I'm not a big cool tone contour girl. I find that with the hair color that I use, if I use too many cool tones on my skin, I get a little gray. So sometimes I'll use a cooler contour and then warm it up, but I don't know. I find that warm for my skin tone and the hair that I wear is a little bit better. So I'm just going over where I contoured with the cream. We're using cream and then powder. We're just blending. Bloop, 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 bloop. Pretty good. I'll do my nose now. I do use a smaller brush for my nose. I use like just a little, this is an eyeshadow brush. You can't see it. It's okay. But I just take a medium contour shade and just define the nose there. Don't forget the tip. Good. So that's what I do for my contour, and now we're going to add some blush. A couple of these things, like these two palettes, I use for every time I get in drag, and they were an investment, but it was so worth it. This is the Lunar Beauty contour palette, and then this is the Scott Barnes blush palette. It was like $50, but honestly, I use it every time I get in drag. It just is so sickening for blush. Sometimes I use more like different powders as well, but I use this Trixie Cosmetics blush brush, and I am wearing a pink outfit today. I'm doing really like nude lip, nude eyes, so I'm really gonna go ham on the blush. So I'm just taking a similar pink that I put on with the cream, and I'm putting the pink here. You see that? Oh yeah, that's puss. And then I'm gonna take kind of a darker blush that has a red tone, but it's very bronzer. Like, bronzer has a lot of red undertones, so I'm using that like as a transitional shade between the contour and the blush. So it really just adds a lot of depth. Same thing there. And then I'm gonna take this peachy shade right here. I'm gonna top everything off with that peachy. I like an orange blush on my skin. Nice. That's our blush. I also am gonna do a little with the remnants. A little blush on the tip of my nose, on the tip of my chin, and on my forehead. I just like to give the vibe that I just, you know, vacationed in California. So we used creams, we used powders. It was fierce. We blended the makeup. We are now gonna slap some shadow under our eyes. So we are gonna take a small little eyeshadow brush like this. Teeny tiny little baby brush. And we're not reinventing the wheel today. We're not doing anything crazy. I am just taking that darker brown shade and I'm going under the eyes. And then we're gonna do a little bit more, but we are just going under the eye completely. I'm closing my eye and going right under the waterline there, right under the eye, just a little smoke. And that's what I do for the shadow under the eye. And then a little thing that I like to do is I like to take a black eyeliner and I like to put that under the eye. First, I'm gonna do a little wing. So on the inner corner of my eye, I'm gonna take my eyeliner. I like Patrick Star eyeliner. The Gaga House Labs eyeliner is also fabulous, but we're just gonna make a little triangle wing on the inner corner, a little inner cat eye. I just like the way that makes my face look. I made that one way bigger than the other, so we're gonna just match, which is fine. So we have our little wing there on the inside. Great. Now we are going to line the tops of our eyes. This is gonna give us the foundation for where we're gonna put our false lash. So that's gonna make it look like the false lash strip, the strip of the lash is not just sitting on our face. It's gonna give it a place to blend in. So it's almost like a little camouflage for the strip of our lash. So that one looks crazy, but that's okay because the lash is gonna cover it up. Put that on, and then I'm gonna take some black. This is a black. It's called the Stage Proof eyeliner from Kimchi. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna do a little sharpening. Good. And then this is what I use. I take a little powder puff, and I'm gonna do my whole waterline with this on the bottom. And this gives me giving very 90s liner, but I just love it. The gig today, they were like, oh, the bride's mother-in-law is very conservative, so just keep that in mind. They said, be conservative. I said, girl, conservative is not in my vocabulary, so don't you worry, honey. I'm gonna be giving milk today. Don't tell me what to do. Just kidding. I do a lot of family-friendly events. Family-friendly, drag can be family-friendly. Drag can be for children. Drag can also not be for children. It depends what you do. But this today is not for children, so I'm now taking because we're using creams. We are using creams and we're setting them with powders. I just used that eyeliner. I'm now setting it with a black eyeshadow, and I'm gonna be smoking that down a little bit. So that is giving black, honey. That is a black under eye. And I just like how that looks. I think it looks pretty good. All right, now because that is so black under the eye, I'm gonna take my big brush that I used again with the black initially, and I'm gonna just stamp it in the black, and I'm just gonna deepen this wing to give that the depth back because the setting powder got all over my eye and it just makes the black look a little gray. So I'm just putting that back in the eye, that dimension. There we go. There's that. So that looks pretty good. Now we just have really like the final touches of my makeup. I like to take the Anastasia brow pencil, brow liner, brow pen. Anastasia Beverly Hills brow pen, medium brown. I have a couple different shades, but this one I find is nice with the shade that I use. And I'm just gonna use this to just add some hair to the brows. Nothing crazy. I like to start in the middle like I did earlier, and I'm just adding little hairs here. Not that serious. And then I'll start here, and we're just gonna add a few just for some dimension. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And now we are going to have another sip of our coffee. We're actually gonna set the face now. This part is very important. So step number 5 for new queens is setting the mug. Set the mug is so important. I have a very specific way in which I set my face. So we've powdered, we've creamed, we've powdered, we've creamed everywhere. Oh my goodness. So now we're gonna set the face. So I use 2 products, okay? I use the MAC Studio Fix Plus spray. This is a setting spray. It's called alcohol-free long-lasting setting spray. MAC Fix Plus. I love this. I've also used the Urban Decay All-Nighter. It's like the black and purple bottle. That's great too. I found that this is a little bit better for my skin. I think that the Studio Fix or the Stay All Night, Urban Decay, whatever, the black and the purple, it's a little drying for my skin, so I like the MAC Fix Plus. I feel like it's not as drying. Sometimes the Urban Decay can cause a little flaking. So you make sure you shake your setting spray, and we're just gonna really douse our face. Not too much, but we're gonna do quite a bit. You'll see. So we're gonna spray from kind of far away. And we want to make sure we get the whole face and the neck. So now we're gonna let that dry a little bit. Let that soak in a teeny bit. So that was our first setting spray. When that is like halfway dry, if you don't know what halfway dry is, I just ask God, is my makeup setting spray half dry? He said you gotta do a few more flicks. All right, God, what do you think? Am I dry? You're halfway dry. That's what he said. I don't know. Ask the man upstairs. I didn't say it. So then I'm taking the One Size On Till Dawn setting spray again, and I'm gonna put this on top of the setting spray that I just sprayed, and I find that together, this just locks my face in. So my setting spray is like almost dry. I'm taking this mattifying setting spray that Beyonce loves, and we're just gonna the whole face, and then the area that my face starts to flake first after a while is my mustache, so I'm gonna give just a little extra in the center of the face there. That's what I do. I use these 2 products to set my face. Fierce. So that's what I do. I use the One Size and the MAC Studio Fix, or the MAC Fix Plus and the One Size. Great combo. When I discovered this One Size setting spray, that is what prevented my makeup from falling off. I met a queen. She let me borrow this at a show. I gave a little spritz on my face. It was a game changer. So highly recommend. I literally buy like 5 of these before Pride season, and they last me, 5 probably lasts me the year, but it's a lot of setting spray. This is something that, this is a little pricey, but this is, girl, if I could only have like a handful of products, this would be one that I would buy every time. I put mascara on. We're gonna do mascara now. I use the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black. I don't know. Eyeliner, mascara is mascara. I like this one. I actually just like the applicator. It's long and skinny. My preference, long and skinny. Oh, no, it's actually, whatever. We're not gonna go there. This is a nice mascara for me. I like to put it on after my setting spray. If you put your mascara on and it is not fully dry before you put on your setting spray will go through your eyelashes, and sometimes the mascara will go right under your eyes. It makes a whole problem. So I'm just gonna put on mascara. I don't curl my lashes. I don't know why. Comment below if you think I should be curling my lashes. I've probably used so many different mascaras in my drag life. I don't really think mascara matters that much, to be honest, as far as you want to have one that stays where you put it. Go a little bit under my eye. It's fine. So that's the mascara. You just want one that's not gonna budge. Waterproof, not gonna, when you're crying on your way home from your gig because your parents are disappointed with you for cross-dressing, you just don't want it to go down your face. So when you get home, you can record some content. Now that we've set our face, we've got our mascara, we are gonna put lashes on. This is just the Kiss strip lash adhesive. Super great. I think a lot of people use this. I'm gonna take my lashes here. This is my little lash trick, is paint the lash glue on your strips first, like so. Get a good layer of lash glue, set those down, and then I'm gonna paint a strip on my eye, right on that black eyeliner, just putting a little glue there. The thing with drag, you use so many different glues and adhesives. You wanna make sure your glues are almost dry, really tacky and almost dry before you put your lash on or your wig down. You really wanna make sure your glue is almost dry before putting it on. It just makes sure everything locks. There we go. So we're gonna wait a minute and put our lashes on. In the meantime, Kimchi Pearl Gone Wild highlighter. Girl, tried and true. Everyone asks me what highlighter I use. I'm not a gatekeeper. I will tell them this is the Pearl Gone Wild Kimchi. It's the best. Everyone asks me what highlighter it is. I just take my finger, do, and then I just put a little bit right on almost the apple of my cheek, going upwards, up the face a little bit like that. Same thing over here. I mean, look at that. Are you kidding me? I do a little bit on the tip of my nose. I think it's cute. A little on the chin there. And I mean, are you kidding? Look at that. Are you kidding? Kimchi, thank you. Easy peasy. All right, we're letting those lashes dry. We're back. We're doing our lips. I have my Kimchi lip liner in honey. I'm just gonna overdraw my lips a little bit. I'm just looking at the natural shape of my lips and just going really on the outside. I don't do a crazy lip. I really just like to accentuate the lip that I have. I have pretty full lips as a boy, and I find that they're, I don't need them to be much bigger for my drag. So I line the top, and then I'm gonna line the bottom. That's how I line my lips. Just try to get them as even as possible. All right, and then I'm going to go in with a matte lipstick. I'm using Trixie Cosmetics Eden matte lipstick. I love Eden lipstick. It's a nice nude brown. It has a little bit of a terracotta color, but also a little pink. It's just, I like it on my skin. It's deep enough, almost like a little milk chocolate, but still has I don't know, a peachy terracotta that I really like. That's the lip. And then I'm not gonna put a gloss on today. What I'm gonna do is take some of that Pearl Gone Wild Kimchi and dab my lips. Because of the hair that I'm wearing, I don't want the hair to get stuck in my gloss. So I just do that, and it's giving shiny lips. So let's put these lashes on, and that's pretty much the makeup, girl. These lashes are almost dry, and I am just gonna plop those babies right on that lash line. Some people put their lashes a little further back when they do a heavier wing. I like it right on the lash line. Call me a woman, honey. Call me a real woman that's giving realness. Or call me crazy, but I like my lashes right on the lash line. Ooh, just like that, girl. And you know what? That is the makeup look. So I don't even know what else to say. I think I look absolutely gorgeous. What do you think? This was about a 90-minute mug, which is pretty average for me. I can do an hour mug. I can also spend 4 hours doing makeup as long as I have. That's how long I will take. But I have to leave in about 40 minutes. So I'm gonna come back to you and say hello when I'm getting ready to leave for the gig. I'm gonna get ready here and then drive 10 minutes down the street from my gig, do a little number. But I'm gonna go put on some hair and some jewelry and some outfit, a little number that I made for myself, and I'll be right back. And we are back, baby. This is the final look. What do you think? Ooh, I think I look pussy. I think I look like a MILF. I think I need to let the mommies out a little bit. Oh, so this is the final look. This is an outfit that I made by myself. I made this outfit myself. Designed it, did this applique. Little lightning bolt moment, honey. I love it. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you little baby queens out there learned 5 tips from Madam Zapple, and I hope you take them into your drag journey and you just do what you love. Let me put a little blush on. Put a little blush on. I feel like it needs a little more blush. What do you think? Ooh, yeah. There we go. Exactly. A little more blush never hurt anybody. All right, everybody. That was my first YouTube video. Again, my name is Madam Zapple. I'm the queen of the North Shore. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something about makeup today or learned something about myself. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, girl, you better subscribe to my channel because I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to become icon status in the world, in the queer world. So if you loved this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like, do me a favor and share this on your socials. It would mean the absolute world to me. And I'll be back very soon with another video. I hope you have a nice day. Mwah. Mommy loves you.